Hello everybody and welcome back to Coast of Shardark, and we're back on the good old Drayton Manor recreation, and as you can see I've done a bit of work actually on Buffalo. I built this all the way back in episode 3 and did a bit more in episode 4, and now there's barely anything left over from when I actually built it to begin with. So there is no real powered coaster in the game, so I've just decided to make do by just absolutely turning off every single remnant of friction. So now the trains don't really slow down, so that's all a lot better now. It's just there's only just small sections of track that have that ugly catwalk on it now, which is kind of bad still, but I can make do with that, I guess. So as you can see, everything's alright. To start this episode off, I am going to try and smooth out this turn. So let's just get shockwave testing. Ooh, we're almost at year 100 if you look towards the bottom of the screen. Let's just speed it all up, so then... Okay. So, in shockwave, in the double corkscrew, there's a bit of a jolt between the two corkscrews that hopefully you should be able to see in a second. So first, feel that little, you didn't feel it. Do you see that little jolt there? That's what I'm now going to just try and sort out. So if I just delete these two pieces and then replace it with, you see this bit there? I wonder if it'll be a bit smoother when you go through a double corkscrew using the double corkscrew piece. So now let's just see if my little innovation has made things a bit better. Probably also smooth out this first turn a bit because it's not the best. So, here's the moment of truth. Beautiful. I don't know why I've not used that piece much before, but shockwave's definitely a lot better for it. Fantastic. Now, I want to try and make this entire transition a little bit smoother, but just in the nature of Planet Coaster being Planet Coaster, I can't really. And there's also this large piece of track from the breakfront to, I guess, these supports, so I might just need to bring these over a bit to make the ride a little more supported, because it doesn't look very supported. Move it up and across. Another thing that I've noticed is I've put these just pieces in wrong, so I just need to rotate them 180 degrees. And shove them down. There we go. Lot better. And these pieces here is pretty much the piece that goes between the train, the track and the supports. So if they were upside down on a real coaster, you'd be pretty dead. because the entire track would just slide off. Much better. So this next time lapse starts off with me doing a bit of work on good old Stormforce 10. So right now, a lot of the troughs are kind of underground, so I'm just kind of digging out the, I guess, area where the troughs are, and then just making sure that a lot more of the terrain around the ride is better because, yeah, and also the drop. It's more of like a double down, I guess, if you're talking about it in more of coaster terms, I guess. So instead of it just being a straight drop, I implemented it to be a double down, and as you can see now, I'm just trying to work out just that final lift up to the station. So yeah, this is all looking pretty good, and it's one of the most, I'd say, iconic parts of Drayton Manor, and that's, I guess, this wall that sort of goes down by Stormforce 10's drop, and by that drop you've got the Drayton Manor logo. Just, I'm working sort of on the first part of the drop right now, which is just the drop, and there isn't much to it other than this big blue border that comes out of the station and kind of just means that you can't really walk underneath the drop, and then the fence that goes along that's just what I'm adding in now. You know, we don't really want to have people in a virtual theme park that won't really jump onto the ride to go ha ha ha, I'm on the ride. It's just for the sake of realism, it's there. So now I'm just trying to work out the best sort of wall block to put for that main classic Drayton Manor bit. So I'm just putting the walls around the outside of the trough, and yeah, it's alright. There's also a bit of wall on the other side, but I didn't really feel like putting that in, so I might either do that next episode or in another episode, or I could just randomly do it off camera. Who knows? It is the future. So part of that main wall is a big waterfall feature, and part of the waterfalls in Planet Coaster is the fact that the main waterfall part, it's kind of social distancing from the actual waterfall, which was a bit of a problem. So even though you can't really see this in the time lapse, it did take a good couple of minutes for me to actually find a good water source, and so I settled on, I guess, these fountain splash things. So I just put that all the way around. It doesn't exactly have that waterfall effect that I was hoping for, so yeah. And then the fence actually continues around the wall, and that's where I added in a TV, and this bit is actually me just going onto the internet and finding a picture of the Drayton Manor logo. So yeah, that's me back, and that is the Drayton Manor logo. So let's move down the fences so that we can actually see the logo. I'll also probably change this between episodes to a sort of picture, the actual picture of it on the fountain, so then I have the picture of the actual picture on the fountain, so that will all be perfecto. So now I'm just doing a bit of work on the big jet thing that I built in, I don't know what episode, but it was quite an early episode. Might have done it off camera, I can't really remember. It's quite an old one. And just patching up and redoing a lot of those sort of walls because they're not the best, to be completely honest. And every time that I move it around or just edit Stormforce, it's completely weird. And yeah, now you may be wondering, Dan, why are you deleting sort of that entire part of the park. Like, surely you should be creating Drayton Manor, not destroying it. Like, you know, Anakin. And then, pretty much, what I did was, I didn't even look at like an aerial view or anything. I just guessed what things looked like. So I was just making the entire park a little more, I guess, geographically correct. Also just bringing up a bit of the ground underneath the lake, because it goes pretty deep, and completely honest, having it pretty deep isn't the most practical thing. So now I'm just adding a couple more trees onto these little islands that I've made, and now it's just time to begin work on rerouting the paths around this entire buffalo, because buffalo does not fit onto that sort of main path that goes on the lakefront around that side of the park. It sort of goes on its own little tangent that goes up in a big triangle, which you can see me building now, those big triangles. So with these big triangles, I reckon Drayton Manor, that's prime real estate for them to build a coaster in. Like, there's room, there's not really anything there, it's away from the zoo, so then it's not really disturbing the zoo animals. I reckon they could fit in like a Bermuda Blitz or something. And if you are wondering on what sort of roller coasters I think could sort of go into Drayton Manor, and I've given some thoughts in a video of mine, and I might remember to put that in the cards. So have fun with that, I guess. So now I'm just putting Buffalo back into its old spot. Then I need to realise that all of those paths I just did was kind of wrong. So then I could put it back into its old position and just kind of reroute its path into the station, because the whole point was to kind of move the station so then it was more accurate. And yeah, that's it there. I am probably going to have to sort out all of that queue line that I haven't moved between in this time lapse, because this time lapse is, it may not look like it, but it took, I think there's about an hour in this little bit where I'm just rerouting this part of the park, which is kind of mad. So there we are, just trying to work out how to put that sort of entrance part of Buffalo there. So now I'm just making sure that the station is on the actual station, and moving all of the pillars that I stupidly forgot to actually make part of the main building onto the building, yeah. So that's all looking good, and that is the end of this episode. So bye, I guess, subscribe, whatever.